So, with the war in Ukraine, Russia's war in Ukraine, decimating that country's ability to feed both its own citizens and its global trading partners, experts are warning the world will be living with a disruption in the global food supply for a long time. To talk more about it this morning is Dr. Edwin Price, Professor of Agricultural Economics at Texas A&M. Professor, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Happy to join you.
So can you break down for us and for our audience exactly how Russia's attack and war against Ukraine is impacting the global food system?
Yeah, sure. Basically, Ukraine is a major supplier of corn, wheat, barley, sunflower oil around the world. And Russia's disrupted both the production and the transportation of those commodities out of the country. The destruction of productions occurred through the destruction of machinery, mining of the fields, making it dangerous for farmers to be out farming, destroying the input supply system that comes in by train and other ways. So that's on the production side. And then on the shipping side, they've closed the ports so that Ukrainian grains cannot go out by sea as normally done. They can get a bit out by rail into the European rail system, but that's slower and more difficult.
Would you? I mean, it's not zero though, but it's a really just drastic cut.
That's right, and they'll be taking steps to try to improve that flow by land, but that'll take a while. It's going to take some building new infrastructure to get the rails compatible, because Ukrainian rail system is a different gauge rail than the European trains. So the grains have to be physically transferred from a Ukrainian train to a European train.
Is that because they were on some old Soviet system, or is that?
Yeah, it would be that they were compatible with other systems.
Sure. And is it okay, or I guess safe to say, accurate to say, Russia is in some way using hunger as a weapon?
Yeah, absolutely. It's using it as a weapon. It weakens the Ukraine. It's punishing Ukraine economically and politically, and it makes it hard for U.S. allies to stay friendly with Ukraine and Russia, or to receive supplies from there. So it's making countries have to choose politically. So yeah, they're using it. It's being used as a weapon.
If the war were to just stop tomorrow, obviously that's not going to happen. At some point, we hope it does, but if it were to just stop on a dime, how long would it take to sort of fill in the gaps that have been caused by Russia's attack on Ukraine, if it's possible?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get back to the same trading systems we had before. But I think it's estimated that about 300 million people are directly affected. The food supply for about 300 million people is directly affected by this. It'll take 2 or 3 years for those emergency supplies to begin to meet the needs of those people. So I'd say it's 3 or 4 years before we get some of the real extreme tensions out of the system. It'll probably take 5 years to get trade flows readjusted, at least temporarily. It'll probably take 10 years to get new trading patterns fully established so that transportation is taking care of distributing goods. But also countries are going to have to change technologies, and that's going to take 20 years. So I think we'll see the effects for a long time. It'll mean a big adjustments, not only in trading patterns, but in production patterns. And changing production patterns takes longer because it takes adjusting technologies to new places, new schedules, and so on.
So my next question, I guess, would be if Ukraine can never get back to where it was in terms of exports, what other parts of the world would fill in for that? What other countries or regions grow what Ukraine grows?
Well, yes, a lot of the Western countries, of course, Latin America, major producing countries, Brazil, and so on can fill it, Australia, the U.S., South Africa. There's ample production capacity. It's just a matter of getting it back online or increasing the capacity from those countries that can produce the same things. So we're talking about corn and wheat largely. Sunflower oil is another.
With all these prices climbing, a lot of countries have been cutting their ties with Russia, specifically with regard to Russian oil. major issues with the global supply chain. I mean, what do you think the next big change or big headline or big thing is going to be in this whole story?
Well, let's hope there's not another shock to the system, because we're dealing with the supply disruption caused by COVID. We're already dealing with supply disruption caused by weather patterns. And so this war has just added an additional extreme complication. So assuming that we don't have another, a COVID outbreak or another disruption of the supply system, I think that the next big thing will be, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think we're going to hear more and more about starvation in a number of countries. That news is going to increase. So I think it's going to be another year or two before we see the worst of this crisis. And then after that, it'll be the slow rebuilding of the trade and production systems to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything anything American farmers can do, or maybe what's the role our country and maybe our farmers play in this global system and how that might change?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, U.S. farmers are fully capable of filling the gap in food production. But, we've been in long established patterns that are established over decades. And so it'll take changing those patterns, probably taking land out. Land that's been in conservation reserves would need to come out. That'll take some policy changes in the U.S. government. So yes, the U.S. can help enormously in filling the gap, but it'll take 2, 3 to 5 years for that supply to come online.
Interesting times we're living in, to say the least. Dr. Edwin Price, Professor of Agricultural Economics at Texas A&M. Thank you, Professor, for your time and your insight. Really appreciated it.
Oh, thanks very much. Glad to join you.